life is about. I'm a black man trying not to get caught. I'm just trying to solve the puzzle like a jigsaw. You know it's a big world, so easy to get lost. I'm just trying to solve the puzzle like a jigsaw.
What's going on, everybody? I am Josh Rogers.
I am Bryan here.
And we are here for another episode of your favorite podcast, the Jigsaw Podcast. We talk about all of the good things in, I don't know if there's many good things in America right now, but we talk about the things that we do as Black millennial men to try to figure this thing called life out. And therefore, we talk about the perils, the praises, productivity, and the pomp and circumstance of being Black and millennial in the ghetto. Brother, how are you?
Man, it's a great day to be Black.
I wouldn't change it for nothing.
Stimmy day. It's Stimmy day.
It's Stimmy day. Shout out to the baller shot caller himself, Joseph Rodeman.
Robinette.
Robinette. There we are. Biden, as my mama would say, Bynum. Every time she says it.
Moneybag Joe.
Every time she says it, I just cannot bring myself to correct her. So maybe if she's listening today, I laugh internally. Every time she says, I was watching on CNN and Bynum was saying, I'm like, gotta be confident. That is such a Black parent that'll change. Shout out to today's episode. That would change the name of anything. But Moneybag Joe is out here making it rain on the people.
He out here, Folks is, couldn't get a hold of nobody today.
I woke up this morning with a bank account stimulated. I said, God,
you did it again.
Would you tempt me? Would you tempt your son this way?
You ain't buy no Gucci belt?
Oh no, I didn't get on my Chance the Rapper and buy my Gucci belt. I did the responsible thing. I paid my credit cards to zero.
Okay, that's really good. That's definitely responsible.
I paid him to zero. I called Navi and said, "Hey, got some money. You better catch me now." What else did I do? That was it, and we threw the rest into our savings. We're trying to buy a home, so we don't. When we get extra money, there's no fun. So extra money is the fun police for us. But no, it was a nice. Shout out to kids. Shout out to kids.
Listen, we didn't get Brooklyn wasn't included on the last couple of times we got the stimmies. So we didn't get this. So when we got it now, we were like, oh, okay. That's what's up. Thank you, Brooklyn.
Listen.
Even though they cost way more than we got back.
Oh yeah. Kids cost way more than the check that they were quote unquote worth. But in the moment, it is we're happy to be stimulated. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Joe Biden, they've been doing a pretty decent job of rolling out this vaccine. We talked about it last week, from the listening letter. Shout out to Nevadius and his friend. Are you getting the vaccine? First of all, let me do this. Let me do this. Let me talk to the people, because I was finna be PC and just ask you, are you going to get it? Because I know you have been talking about it. So if you've been following this podcast for any number of, since this whole Panini Press, that Bryan Allen Hair, first of his name, from the area of Stockton, California.
Stockton?
You're not from Stockton. Pomona. Don't judge me. I have a headache. I am on medication right now.
My God.
So I'm just, you're from California.
I am. That's true.
Man of God has been vehemently saying, oh, I'm getting that vaccine. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do this. I ain't going to jump the line. I'm going to do that. So a blessing came into my lap, and I passed it on to my brother. So in some predominantly Black cities, Atlanta being one of them, there have been certain locations, mainly churches, that have served at vaccination sites for low-income communities, predominantly Black and brown communities. Now, the issue that some of these sites have had, specifically in Atlanta, was that the people in those communities were not going. So what they decided to do, since these vaccines have, they just kept, they not forever, they got expiration dates, they invited the public. When I found out, I said, look at God. Bryan ain't got to skip the line. He ain't got to lie. He ain't got to do nothing. I sent him a text, because I want to be accurate in my storytelling. I sent him a text on Saturday. Okay, what was that? Saturday, March. What's that?
Really? We pulling receipts though?
Yes,
That's what
we
we're doing.
are. Saturday, March 13th at 5:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the year of our Lord 2021. And my exact message under that was, put you some clothes on and go. Because I know Bryan don't be doing. Him and his wife been stuck in the Panini Press in the house. So I know he probably had on some basketball shorts, and
Mm-hmm.
that was it. You know, his Instagram story tells the story every weekend. And you know what? You
Mm-hmm.
know what happened? Man of God texted me Sunday morning about the podcast. So, you know, I felt ignored. So I made up in my black mind, that I will not waste my African American time talking to Bryan about a vaccine ever again. Because the man of God did all that chitter chatter and ignored my text message about how he could get the vaccine for free with no issues or no reasoning. Then he comes texting me. Let me go back. He's come texting me. Where we at? Let me go back. Okay, yesterday, March 16th at 4:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the year of our Lord 2021, it says, I reserve the greeting. Guess who's getting vaccinated tomorrow? And I said, I'm assuming you and your hind part ignored me Saturday, you flagrant language person. And he said, excuse me. So I had to screenshot when he ignored me. So I just want you. So now that is all out of the air, you are getting the vaccine.
I actually got my first dose today.
You got it today. How do you feel?
I feel good. My arm's a little sore.
Okay.
But other than that, we good.
You're not
We're
mutating.
All right. I'm still black. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
My thing is a decent size still.
Okay.
You know, all the things that matter.
All the things that matter.
I'm still black, and I'm still, you know.
So I got vaccinated Friday. So
okay,
last Friday, it's past Friday. So I'm glad now that you know my story, I can release that burden off of me. I ain't got to walk around with that on me because I was offended.
Well, hey, I'm sorry. You know,
I said this nigga been on here complaining, scratching, and trying to figure out how you gonna get vaccinated. And I gave this Negro the keys. Who got the keys to the Jeep? Josh had the keys to the Jeep. Ooh, let me tell you a fun story about when I got vaccinated. You want to hear it? I'm tell you.
Go for it.
So I don't know how your experience went, but we had when I got finished, they would sign us up for our second dose.
Mm-hmm.
And there was when she finished, she was like, "Hey, there's a waiting area. We want you to wait around 15 minutes on site. Blah blah blah." So most people, was on their phone, chilling, whatever, right? So there's been the fear that people, the vaccine is gonna change and mutate, blah blah, blah, or the memes, or at least about it, right? This white kid jumped out of his chair and said, and marched down the hallway. I said, Lord, it done got him. I said, I done just got this vaccine. And this little boy turned into a Ninja Turtle. What is happening? I was so afraid. I really was, but John, I didn't really know. And then later I found out, I felt bad. God forgive me that the gentleman had autism. Now, what I will say is that while I empathize with that situation, I understand, the complications, that can happen. And this is no slight to anybody with autism. I just think that the level of silence and sometimes, the kind of questions you had around the vaccine is just this random outburst. Because the gentleman, he was like really quiet and like, on his phone too. And then I mean out of the clear white sky, it was just an outburst, and I was like, God help. But that kind of took me aback, just a tad, and I was like, Lord, cover us all. But the gentleman was facing, a disease that we're advocating for, that people are living with and being healthy with. But mighty God, the timing of it all, just the timing,
right,
of it all.
Like I would have been scared too.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm being honest. I'm coming to y'all with my truth. Okay, I don't counsel me. I'm just saying that is my truth. Okay. Now that we got all that out the way, now that I've lend my burden, and Bryan has not asked for my forgiveness. I don't know if y'all noticed that. What kind of friendship is this? I told the man I was offended.
I thought I said I apologize. I didn't apologize in the text.
I wanted you to apologize here.
Okay. We'll do it live. Joshua. See, we're black men. We need to make sure that we have great conversation, open lines of communication, and we were offended. We got to make sure that we talk about it.
I air my grievance right here, and I want
here.
I want to be rectified right here.
Openly, so I got to be openly.
Yeah.
Joshua, I apologize.
I'm sorry. Thank you, and I apologize for saying you're from Stockton. That was blame the headache medicine.
Yeah, but I got something for you. When we get to the song of the week,
but it's okay.
When we get to the song of the week, I got you. Oh, okay. What's in your
that ain't none of your business. Song of the week. Song of the week. We are forgiven. We are on a clean slate. Don't start over.
So, in order for me we're in a clean slate. So, okay. I'm going to tell you what the song is. I'm going to start it, but you need to finish it.
See, we're doing better already because you should have did that with Future, with the original in the 80s.
But here goes one, and I chose this song specifically for you.
Okay, it's for me, so this is a gift of sorts.
It is a gift.
Okay,
so it's really in celebration of our stemming.
Okay,
it's a celebration of our stemming.
Okay,
and I'm gonna say who is by.
Okay,
and see if you can guess what the song is.
So you're saying it's in celebration of the STEMI, and based on that one clue, I should now know once you tell me the artist what this song will be.
Yes.
Okay, I hope I don't disappoint.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
The artist is Gangsta Boo.
Where them dollars at, man? Where them dollars at? 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 I'm sitting heavy, understand me, lady. It's Gangsta Boo. Now let me tell you about this story about this lady named Boo. I'm coming through what Miss Boo is coming to get you to do. Get your mind twisted like some dreads on a Jamaican head.
You're welcome.
That's my song.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. That blessed me so. I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that. That is so Memphis.
Super Memphis.
That is so. Wait a minute, because I feel like some of the people aren't as familiar with my girl. You know, Gangsta Boo we graduated from the same high school.
Oh, really? Okay.
We did. We did. Listen to the intro. This is some pimping. You hit it? Yeah. Oh, I forgot it's a little vulgar. Let me turn it down. Oh man, that is Gangsta Boo, man. That is
I figured that you would appreciate that.
Man, shout out to Gangsta Boo and 3-6 Mafia. Lola Mitchell is a real name. Shout out to Lola. Out here doing the thing. Bryan, thank you. That makes up for all the things.
All the things.
You know how to be a good brother. Look at you.
I love you, Joshua.
Look, I love you too, man. We black men. We're not afraid to say it.
Not at all.
All right. You ready to get the podcast? Oh, shout out to my 8-line brothers. Today is my 4th Noopversary. Came into this wonderful organization known as Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated on this day 4 years ago. So I'm super excited. I didn't post anything special. I just posted something. It's been a marathon of a day. But shout out to the 9 FOSs. We made it, y'all. We are here 4 years, and cheers and yo to the good brothers. All right. You ready to get the show started? They guess I ain't never shouted them out.
You shouted them out.
If you don't fix this pop filter,
this thing keep falling. I don't know what's going on.
We gonna get this show started. We gonna pray the man of God get his equipment together. let's go to the blessed report.
All right. All right, we're here at the
We
Bless Up
here,
report, and we're still,
yeah.
floating on
We
where
still
them dollars
flowing
at.
what them dollars at. Shout out to Lola and 365, the first lady of 365 here.
I think her and Darrell, where the money resides, need to make a song together.
The remix.
The remix,
The remix.
where the dollars at, where the
Where
money
them dollars
reside.
at?
Like
Where the
it's
money reside.
questions that need answers, right?
And put our
Um,
girl Frida on it.
Oh,
Make it a bounce mix.
that would be really good.
Right? That just got my. I got this vaccine. Don't get me talking about no bounce mix.
Listen, I want to go to New Orleans. I need to go to New Orleans and find freedom.
I gotta make sure my workout plan is A1 before I go to New Orleans. I'm going to gain 30 pounds eating.
Oh yeah, New Orleans is one of the best places on earth.
Yeah, I'm eating beignets for breakfast, dipped in hot chocolate.
I miss New Orleans. I can't wait to get my second vaccine because I'm be in these streets.
Are you gonna be in the streets? Because another friend texted me and said the same thing. I had to call him to the carpet. So I'm gonna see.
Who said? Oh, never mind.
I ain't gonna
We'll
tell
talk
you.
about
I'll
offline.
tell you. I'm lying.
I checked my freaking flyer miles. I know how much my balance is. I know my credits are. I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Let's bless up somebody. Come
Let's
on,
bless up somebody.
before we
So
get
let's-
stuck.
Right, we stuck. So bless up to Nadine Ijewere, just photographer, the first Black woman. And shout out to, or bless up to women. It is Women's History Month.
Mhm.
So this photographer, Black woman, is the first Black woman to ever shoot for American Vogue.
Okay.
Also, was the first woman of color to shoot a British Vogue cover in 2018.
Nice.
When she was speaking to the media about the lack of diversity in the industry, she said, "When I was studying, there were virtually no female photographers of color. I feel like in doing this, I'm proving to younger girls from a similar background that it's achievable. It also feels like part of the broader shift within our culture to include far more diversity, both behind the camera and in front of it." So bless up to this great Black photographer, Nadine. We're so grateful that she's doing these great things, and it's sad that it's 2020 and this is the first time you're doing, or first a Black woman is doing American Vogue,
Yeah.
and then 2018 is the first person of color to do the British Vogue, and it kind of makes sense because when they say that British people might be racist, it's
Ain't no
first
might
woman
be.
of color doing it. So hey, but that's neither here nor there. But bless up to Nadine Ijewere, photographer, Black woman doing great things. So that's the Blessed Report. Ready to get to the billboard?
I'm ready. We got a power pack one. But before we dive deep into the billboard, let me say this. It's been another week and God has stayed the hand of death again.
Oh, he did.
We ain't lost no legends. We ain't
Mm-mm.
lost nobody
Mm-mm.
that we know of
Right.
that done flew up out of here. So
Mm-mm.
God, we thank you for that. So one of our aunties, one of our queens, Miss Anita Baker, is calling for a boycott. Auntie Anita Baker went to Twitter to let us know that she has outlived her 30-year contracts and all of her masters are supposed to be returned to her. Unfortunately, she said that she now has to fight for them. So she's asking us to not play her music or to promote her music until she gets her masters. And it may be hard, but we can't even play, when we're mad. I always knew I would feel this magic for you on my mind constantly. In my arms is where you should be. Ooh, I love you here by me, baby. You let my love flow freely. I want you in my life for all time. Look at my part. I'm caught up in the rapture of love. Nothing else can compare. When I feel the magic of you, the feeling's always new.
That's it. That's the number. That's the part.
Oh man, I love me some Anita Baker. We had that
Oh,
on
me too.
when we gave out wedding gifts. We gave out a CD mixtape. That was what they call them things. Not going away presents. What are they called?
Party gifts, party favors.
Party. That was our wedding favors. But no, Auntie I'm sorry, Auntie Nita. We not supposed to be promoting your music. We can't sing Caught Up in the Rapture. We can't sing Giving You the Best That I Got. We can't sing Sweet. I'm almost saying Sweet Love. We can't sing Angel. It's so good. So I love me so. And she got the song with the wine and so it's just so good. It's just I love me so. Auntie
Ain't
Nita.
no need worrying.
What the night is gonna bring, because it's gonna be all over. Woo! Glory to God.
In the morning.
Ooh, Brian, I'm caught up. I don't know if I can finish the billboard. That thing that blessed me, because I love me some Anita Baker, and
She's wonderful.
I'm about to go. Listen, I'm got to go to sleep to that in my ears tonight. We can't do any of it because we want to, just like we did for Dave Chappelle. We
Mm-hmm.
want to do the same thing for Auntie Anita and honor what she's asking. So let's
Yep.
stop the streams.
Mm-hmm.
Disc jockeys, as you know, I use the whole name. DJ, stop playing it on the radio, and let's make sure that because a lot of these artists have gotten the bad contracts, and
Right.
they don't get paid in the ways that they should. So we want to make sure that if this is her one request, then we honor that until she get what is rightfully hers.
Yep.
Staying in the vein of music, the Grammys,
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter.
Yes.
First of her name. From Houston, Texas. I got her city right. She made history. And she has now won the most Grammys by any artist. She has tied Quincy Jones for having the most of a living person to win Grammys. So she's won 28 of them things now. And just this past Sunday, she won for Best Rap Song, the Savage Remix with our girl Meg. She won for Best Rap
Mm-hmm.
Performance. I still say she's
Mm-hmm.
the best rapper out of Houston, Texas, for the same song. She won Best R&B Performance for Black Parade. And she brought home the Music Video Award for Brown Skin Girl. Shout out to Blue Ivy Carter for being only the second person under the age of 10 to win a Grammy. And it makes no sense, bro, why she don't have Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Record of the Year yet. But not only one, Beyonce won, her daughter won. You know what I'm saying? It was just a whole thing in the Knowles Carter household, because I think Jay-Z low-key took home a Grammy for that too, because I think he had some writing credits
That's what's up.
on the Savage remix. Well, of course, I looked it up. He actually, they didn't put him, on the stage, but the writers be getting, they get their Grammys mailed to the house.
Oh yeah.
So he had writing credits on there. So shout out to the whole Carter household. And speaking of some Jay-Z, we gonna 6 Degrees Separation. Nas finally won his first Grammy for Best Rap Album. I don't even know what his album was most recently to have won the Grammy.
It was
Not
King's Disease.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of have a disease in terms of listening to his music. Not that it's bad. I've never sat down in a chair and said, let me listen to a Nas album. That just hasn't happened. I appreciate what Nas brings to the table. I think he's a phenomenal rapper. I just don't spin his records. Okay. But before we go deeper into it though, did you watch the Grammys?
I actually watched the Grammys from almost start to finish.
Me, and I was so tempted to watch The Housewives, but I didn't. So overall, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I think they were able to cut out a lot of the extra stuff, and it was really just music. You know what I'm saying? It was just music, like music performances. They were even quick with the nominations and the award speeches.
Yeah,
I think it's sad because I think this is the lowest rated Grammys like almost ever, but I think it was one of the better Grammys I think I've in recent history. I like the performances, even the people that I don't even know of. I think the performances were great,
except for Taylor
so I enjoyed
Swift.
it. Oh yeah, I like that. And that one white girl at the beginning, with the pink on. I think she ended up winning an award. I don't know her name, but she was like dancing and stuff. She thought she was killing it, but she wasn't.
How do you feel about Trevor Noah?
I think Trevor did a good job. He did not walk or extend his hand for Meg or Beyonce walking in them steps.
Yeah, that's very true.
But other than that, I think he did a good job.
I
Like I
like
think,
Trevor Noah. I actually
yeah,
appreciate his brand of comedy and all of that.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think he did a good job. I it's better than during LL Cool J. They've been having to do it for a long time.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I think Trevor Noah was good. He good transition. And I think he's black. He's a part of the culture. A lot of people respect Trevor Noah, so I think he was a good host.
Bring Monique back. I know she only did the BET Awards, but bro, we got to start an official hashtag.
We do.
Restore Monique.
Right.
we want Miss Parker back. We want Nikki Parker back.
Professor.
We want Nikki Parker back. All right. So keep it with this nigga said professor. Wait a minute.
Professor Ogilvy.
I was trying to go back into my notes. So the Grammys. Another one of our favorites won Meg Thee Stallion. You know, Big Booty Judy from Houston, Texas, and she won this thing. Best New Artist, which is great because you can only win Best New Artist one time because you ain't new no more.
Right.
I didn't know she was new right now, but apparently,
bruh.
So I you know what? I think she's new because of whatever the loophole is about this being her first album and not mixtape EP.
Right, that
so
makes sense.
yeah, so she won Best New Artist. She won for, of course, rap song, rap performance. Talking about it with Savage remix, and you know, love it or hate it, Savage itself was a song, and the remix with Beyonce on it was a quarantine bop. One thing I will say about this quarantine and the Panini Press was that we got some really good music.
Oh yeah.
So the disappointing side was that we weren't able to like go to concerts and festivals and whatever to really enjoy the music in spaces that we would have typically enjoyed them in, but they gave us music to quarantine too. So shout out to Savage Remix. And she killed the stage with Cardi B. Now let's talk about Belle Khalees.
Let's talk about it.
Belle Khalees ain't nobody. Now, Belle Khalees has admitted she ain't a dancer, but
she said it.
I mean, her 1-2 steps was 1-2 stepping off. I said, "Oh my God, where is the beat? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" But I think all was forgiven when Meg flipped her over with that foot. When Meg flipped her over with one foot, I said,
"Man of God!"
I said, "Megan, you done this before."
Listen,
it was with so much ease. I said, "You done this before, Meg." So I'm just gonna leave that there. Asha did say she fell asleep on it, and Jaden was up in our bed because I was down here working on something. She said when she woke up, Jaden's eyes was. I said, "Man of God, I know what he saw." She said she had to change it.
His life has changed forever.
I said, "Man of God, I know what he saw." I said he saw that thing. He saw that thing sitting on Megan, and said, "Mighty God." One of the beautiful things about the Grammy, though, was that Black Lives Matter was incredible. You know what? And Brian, this was the year for the blacks. A lot of us won.
It was.
And they put like Lil Baby, both of the babies, Lil Baby and Da Baby was on stage in major ways perform. Let's slide back to Mr. Kirk for a second with Da Baby. Who was these old white women behind him singing on this when doing his performance?
I had no clue.
What was this? I was so I couldn't even enjoy it because I was so confused by this orchestra that he had behind. And then he was trying to direct them. I was so trying to figure out the theme.
So much.
I was like, why and what? You had on a bedazzled turtleneck, and you had what's the Supreme Court justice just died? Ruth Bader Ginsburg aunties behind you singing opera, doing your 5-minute performance, and then you done brought out Roddy Ricch in the middle. I was just like, boy, Mr. Kirk, sit down. But anyway, Black Lives Matter was ingrained throughout it all. I Can't Breathe, Her was Song of the Year. Lockdown by Anderson .Paak won Rap Song Performance of the Year because you know Anderson really, it's hard to just say he's a rapper. You know, he's an artist. Let me say that. Lil Baby performed The Bigger Picture, and it was dope. Just the visuals of it all. Made it amazing.
It was beautiful.
And he was accompanied by Tamika Mallory, Kendrick Sampson, and Killer Mike. He could have left Killer Mike in Atlanta, but nevertheless, he was there. It was a great performance. So kudos to Lil Baby. And let me tell you, I love me some Lil Baby.
Me too.
Lil Baby is the better baby.
Oh,
I'm
without
on
a shadow of a
record.
doubt. Without a
I mean,
shadow
the
of a
baby
doubt.
gonna give us the time and the fly time. I mean, he got a formula. But Lil Baby don't even breathe when he rap.
Bruh.
he just floats.
Bruh. Like the song he just did recently with Drake.
Oh, Drake
And-
do not
and-
to put another verse at the end of that.
And mind you, Drake is a spitter. Drake can rap with the best.
When Drake ain't on that pop stuff, he's a beast.
He's a rapper.
Yeah.
And Lil Baby got on that track
And said, I'm gonna show you.
Just said, okay, Drake. You don't
Okay.
don't
No, he didn't even call him Drake. He said, okay, Aubrey.
okay, Aubrey. Like you ain't going after this.
You ain't going after
And
this.
he murdered it. And I was
murdered it.
And the thing I like about him too is like he's from Southwest Atlanta. He's an intelligent black man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause when I say that, it's, even though it's like quote unquote like trap music or that type of cadence or vibe, like his songs have like thought behind them. Like,
Yeah,
the bigger
absolutely.
picture is well thought out. It's like he put thought into it, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just gonna get on the mic and just spit random stuff. Like, I think he has great flow, great cadence, great punchlines. He's great.
Yep.
I like Lil Baby.
I like Lil Baby. So we waiting on the next album from him. And I think the last thing for the Grammy conversation is Silk Sonic.
Yes.
Silk Sonic, the duo of Anderson. Is it Pac or Pac?
I think it's Pac.
You sure? Is it two A's?
I think it's Pac. We have to I guess hear him say it.
Okay, so Anderson and Bruno. If you know, they've been leaving the door open for all of us. I'ma leave the door open. That's my song.
It's a great song.
It's a great song. Silk Sonic had their first live performance on a new single, Leave the Door Open. It was everything that we wanted, that we needed, that we deserved, that, you know, the Grammys. I mean, it was just dope.
It was great.
I mean, it was dope. I mean, they had, and I heard that their suits was all Gucci.
No
Suit,
way.
shirt, shoes, everything. They was Gucci down.
Gucci down.
And I'm
socks.
loving that they're bringing this whole 70s bell bottoms.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I would wear bell bottoms, but I am loving the vintage look of it all.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, so, you know, shout
Right.
out to them for the looks as well.
Right. And before you go further, I think I love about Bruno is that he finds time periods. He makes an album based off of that time period. So like Doo-Wops was like a, you know, that 50s type kind of vibe. And then 24 Karat Magic was like that 80s, 90s.
Yeah, 80s funk, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think he can say, you know, I'm going to do this genre, this era, and I'm going to kill it. And then Anderson .Paak's like, he had his last album, he had a whole bunch of good, you know, old school sounding grooves. So I think that was dope.
I mean, it just gave us more insight to what we can expect for this album featuring Bootsy Collins. You know, hopefully go back to last episode and check out our predictions, because we told y'all who we wanted, what we wanted. So let's see if some of that happens. But not only did they sing Leave the Door Open, they gave a tribute to one of the icons, one of the legends, one of the pillars of this here podcast, Mr. Richard Penniman from Macon, Georgia, better known as Little Richard. They did and that was the tribute we need, not that Wayne Brady foolishness.
We didn't need that.
And Bryan, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I told the people that Bruno Mars should have been one of the ones given Little Richard a tribute. And here we are. The Grammys got it. Now, the Grammys don't get a lot of things right a lot of times. But this time, they got it right. And I wish that they were, you know, they were trying to pay homage to all of the fallen artists. But I wish they would have really given credence to just Little Richard and just let him have a moment. But nevertheless, it was dope. He passed away in May 2020, so I know it's been a while, but still, this was, you know, this was a snippet of the type of tribute that he really deserved. All right. Speaking of white award shows that really don't honor black people often, the Oscar nominations are in, and we, as always, we're rooting for everybody black. A few
Mhm.
notable nominees are the late great Chadwick Boseman. He was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Mhm.
Alongside of him is Viola Davis, Best Actress in a Leading Role for the same film. Andra Day, Best Actor in a Leading Role for The U.S. versus Billie Holiday. Leslie Odom for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for One Night in Miami. Daniel Kaluuya for Best
Mhm.
Actor in a Supporting Role in Judas and the Black Messiah. Lakeith Stanfield for Best Actor in a Support. Now, was he a supporting actor? I felt like he was the star.
And that's the weird thing because I think for the Golden Globes he was nominated for the
The
lead
lead
role,
role. Yeah.
but now for the Oscars he's nominated for the supporting role. And let me say this:
They don't
there's
want they want to put all these black men against each other. That's what it is.
but here goes the thing: a black man better win. Like,
Cause it's three
yeah,
of them.
it's three of them, and I think there's 5 nominations total
And
for
if
the category.
and if a white man rises up out of this,
Brother,
it's gonna be an issue.
it's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be an issue. But those other nominations, there's a ton of other black folks. So I am not watching the
Oh, I ain't
Oscars. Let me
never.
start there. What I will do is be paying close attention to the news ticker to see who won. I will
Mhm.
be watching YouTube to catch their award, their speeches, so that I
Mhm.
can hear them shout out God. Speaking of speeches, Megan was so innocent and beautiful standing up to
Wasn't
Beyonce.
she?
She said, "I thank God, I thank Beyonce, and I thank Jay-Z for me on Rock Nation." She was more happy to be
The Holy
standing next to
Trinity.
Beyonce than she was to be getting that darn award. But no, shout out to everybody who's been winning. Shout out to all the nominations in this award season. It's dope to see y'all winning. It's dope to see y'all doing great, black, beautiful things. And this has been a very positive billboard. I was just,
It
man, thank
has.
God for the lack of the drama. Because I got some stuff I want to talk about a little bit later. That's
Oh,
not going to be so
oh,
positive.
the
But
great conversation is gonna be on fire. I got
listen,
some things
but
to get off my chest.
but in the meantime, in between time, y'all grab y'all snacks, your popcorn, your almonds, your Greek yogurt, whatever it is you're doing, because summer is coming. And we can't be
Mhm.
eating too many pork rinds and stuff. We got to eat healthy snacks. So get all of your things. Meet us in the living room, and don't waste no crumbs in my living room.
Don't do it.
Waste no crumbs in my living room.
That's a
Come
great
on down to
segue.
the living. That's a great. Ain't it a great segue?
That's a great
That's a
segue.
great way. Pick up them chip bags off the floor, and let's go into the living room and have this conversation.
It's about to make a change. Do it with some soul in the living.
All right, we are here in the living room. Extremely interested in this conversation, and I'm going to kind of start this conversation off with a disclaimer, right? So when we
Mhm.
were scheduling and coming up with our schedule for, really at the beginning of the year, we kind of said what our episodes were going to be.
Yeah, we
So
had some conversations about them.
right, we had conversations about what our episodes were going to be, and this was actually supposed to be the episode that it was going to be. I'm just going to say the episodes would be about parenting and black household dynamics.
Yes.
So, interesting thing is, the whole Kurt Franklin situation popped off.
Yes.
So just a disclaimer: the fact that we already had this episode, thought about or in the works. But it kind of just dropped into our lap, so we might as well kind of use that as a framework for the conversation. And of course, this is not a conversation as we do on the Jigsaw is to kind of bash or go after folks and all that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff.
Y'all know that ain't us.
That ain't us. But what it does is just kind of gives us a good baseline or a good framework for a conversation. But like I said, it's never going to be our intention to one, tear down some black folks, and two,
And really just have and we don't have the capacity to have that level of discord, right? About
right.
what's going on. Like we can have our opinions, but
Mhm.
we don't know
Mhm.
what's happening. But like Bryan said, I do think this creates an ideal opportunity to talk about black parenting, right?
Right.
Because we saw a lot of mixed emotions
Mhm.
around whether they were on Kirk's side or whether they talked about Carry
Mhm.
On. And, some people said, all I heard was, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. And who's to say that that's a healthy thing to say to a child? So,
Oh, right,
right. So I mean,
Bill Cosby said that. Like
right, right. Well,
America's dad said that.
right. Heathcliff said it. We loved him.
Oh,
So
sorry, Heathcliff.
Heathcliff, I'm gonna bring that thing in. Heathcliff said it.
Cliff said it.
Cliff said, but no, but seriously though, you know what I'm saying? Like, while a lot of things are normalized, I think in parenting, specifically black
Mhm.
parenting, I think it is fair for us to have certain conversations, and that's what today's episode is all about. So,
Right.
you know, just give you some insight. Me and Bryan share producing credits on this here podcast, and so Bryan, kick us off, and let's dive into let's dive into today's discussion.
Yeah. Okay. So we're both black, right? And we're both
Yeah.
parents. Grew up in black households. So I guess the question I'm gonna start off with to begin with is, what does a black household feel like to you?
Ooh, the household in general.
Yeah. Like, what does a black household feel like to you?
I think, going back to, not to sound like a broken record, but black people are not a monolithic group.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that varies from region to region, city to city,
Mhm.
house to house. I
Right,
mean,
right.
we've talked about our different dynamics, right?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the South, what people will
Mhm.
call the mid South, because Tennessee is above your, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, that kind of, people think about Mississippi, that kind of
Mhm.
style. But we the South. We got our own special
Mhm.
accent,
Right.
and things. And you grew up, just a couple of years before me, all the way across all the way across the states, near the waters,
Mhm.
on the coast, over there in Pomona, right?
Mhm.
And another glaring difference
Mhm.
was that I grew up in a 2-parent household. You grew up in a
Mhm.
single parent household.
Mhm.
You had more siblings than I had, right? So I
Mhm.
think those differences really could really change the dynamics of what a household could feel like. But I think
Mhm.
generally, I think black households are I don't what's the word? I think it is filled with love,
Mhm.
right? But I think sometimes that love is expressed in so many different ways. It's
Mhm.
interesting because I was having a um preliminary conversation with a friend, and we were
Mhm.
talking about, I think it was a meme that said people who were raised with love see the world different than those who were raised trying to survive.
Right. Right. Right.
And I was like, part of that is true, but there
Yeah.
are so many definitions of what love and survival is. And I
Oh.
think I
Oh
brought
yeah.
up good times. Like, they were
Mhm.
scratching and surviving, but
Right.
that household was not void of love. So
Right. Right.
while their
Right.
perspective may be different, like once they made it, I don't think that they look at life void of, because James was hard, but James very much loved them.
Oh yeah. He definitely loves his family.
Florida showed her love, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
like, even the family friend with Lona, all of those dynamics. So I think, I say that to say, I think all black households are filled with like this kind of nurturing, in a
Mhm.
sense. It is, if there's one consistent thing in black households, it is a level of preparation,
Mhm.
because as black people, as you know, we have to endure and
Mhm.
deal with things that non-black people don't have to deal with. So I think that is a consistent line. But of
Mhm.
course, we got our things, right?
Of course.
The whole "I brought you in this where I take you out." We have the
Yep.
things that we say to kids. We got the things that we do. But what about for you? What are your thoughts around that?
I think, and of course, again, like you said, of course, we and Josh understand that not all households are created equal, but we're kind of giving some generalities when it comes to certain statements and stuff like that. But I think one thing what a black household to me feels like is the best that I got.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent. Like, one thing I can say in my house, I felt like my mom always gave me the best that she had.
Shout
Like,
out to
and it could
Anita
have
Baker
been wrong.
again.
Right. Give me the best that I got. Right. And it came from a good place. Like, it again, wrong. Because she's done stuff, I'm pretty sure, just wrong. But
Mhm.
her intent, and just like I said, just like I think I always say about James Evans. Is that his name, James Evans? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, even though he like was people say he was a toxic parent, he definitely came from like a place of like love, and I really wanted to give them the best that I know how to do.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's wrong, it's still the best that I know how to do. And I think my mom definitely did that. Um, yeah, the best that she had. She gave us the all that she had. Again, if it was wrong, it was wrong. But she was, if anything, she was just learning. She was trying to
Mhm.
figure things out. And I'm sure probably get into that a little bit later. But I think that's what a black household to me, my household felt like was that I'm going to give my maximum effort, whatever I got. Then on top of that, I would say it felt like um, it definitely felt like us against the world.
Oh
It
yeah,
felt like
absolutely.
it was us against the world. Like, if
I can see that
if
I can see that being a line in black households in general.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a few things my mom would say, like, don't let your brother come home and I found out that he got beat up and you ain't do nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or like you gotta, if you don't have nobody else, you at least have your siblings. You know what I'm saying? It was really the setting things up, like the fact of like showing how important the family was to one another. Like, you need each other to survive, um, and to grow and to prosper and to live your best lives. Like, rely on these people, because if no one else got you,
Yeah.
they should, let me say, they should support you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know me and my siblings had a very similar relationship and dynamic. And I was the only boy. So there were times where I felt like this responsibility. Rashonda's 3 years older than me.
Hmm.
So like, wow. And today that doesn't mean a lot. But when we were growing up, 13 and 16,
Hmm.
some 16-year-old dude was trying to disrespect my sister. What is a little skinny 13-year-old? You know what I'm saying? But as
Hmm.
much as possible, right? I was still wanting. I felt this responsibility to
Hmm.
be, and she calls me her little big brother,
Hmm.
because one, I think my family sits me in this seat of like the, the wise child or something,
Right, right,
and
right.
and
I
it's a
know how that
it's
goes.
it's a burden,
Oh yeah.
it's a burden, but it's one that I recognize my space, within
Hmm.
my family. Like I get it. So even as a young child, I think I felt like sometimes as the only boy, I had to be that specifically,
Hmm.
especially for Jessica. Like it's my little sister, right?
Right. Hmm.
But we had each other's back. Like I
Hmm.
remember even when I went off to college and I would come home for the summers. I was the one
Hmm.
taking my sister. Me and Jessica, like Jessica was, my dad already spoiled the crap out of her, but I would
Hmm.
come home bringing her all kind of food, spending my little internship money, taking her out on dates for lunch, and just doing the things because
Hmm.
my mom had two brothers, and their mom passed away very early when she was 20,
Uh-huh.
and she was the oldest, so she became a mother for her brothers in a sense. So she raised us in that way to kind of like always be there for your brother and sister. Like
Yep.
y'all might be all y'all got one day. And I think she kind of raised us from that lens
Hmm.
of neither because my mom and her two younger brothers have different fathers.
Hmm.
And neither one of them were like super active in their lives, so they were
Right.
raised pretty by a single mother. So so when their mom passed, she became that, I mean, literally became that for them.
Hmm.
Help raise them, help get them through high school and all those different types of things, and cooking their dinners and washing, all that at 20, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like she became essentially a mother to teenagers. And she, I think, in raising us, kind of put that, I don't want to say burden, but perspective of siblinghood
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
us, and making sure that we remain tight and we were strong. I think even stronger than what they were. So
Hmm.
that, what I'm saying, there wouldn't be any breaches in our relationship. And I would say today, what I'm saying, we don't talk every single day,
Right.
but when we do talk, we're on, like, especially me and Rashonda, we're on the phone for hours.
Hmm.
When I go home, like my little sister is all up under my butt, like she was when she was 5 years old.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or like, that little teenager looking up to me. And it's just our dynamic. So to that point,
Oh yeah.
um, kind of like you said, your mom said this. I think my mom was the same way. This is the best that I got because this is
Hmm.
circumstances made me and my siblings this way, and
Hmm.
I'm giving you all I know. And I
Right. Right.
think
Right.
that's something that we have to, while it is things that in many black households that led us to therapy,
Right. Oh
there
yeah.
are things that led us to question why you did this and why you did that.
Hmm.
I think the silver lining, or the thing we can empathize with the most, is that, like, I mean, you said it, like, it's so appropriate. They gave us what they had
Oh yeah.
a lot of time, and that's really all they knew.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think in kind of going a little bit to pivoting a little bit. I think when the interesting thing, I had a conversation with my grandma.
Yeah.
My grandma was coming to Atlanta one time, and I had the opportunity to, I would say the privilege, I had the privilege to um, drive her to the airport. So that was about an hour drive from Pomona to LAX. Then get on the plane with her for about from LAX to Atlanta is about 4.5 hours to really, for the first time I think in my whole life, really hear my grandma's story,
Mm-hmm.
like where she came from. I knew where she came from, but hearing the whole story, where she came from, what it was like raising 7 kids,
Yeah.
um, what it was like when I'm putting all my family business out here. What it was like when her and my grandfather got divorced, when my grandfather messed around with somebody else, you know what I'm saying, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
brought his baby to the house, um, all that stuff, right? And then, so when I had the conversation with her, it was kind of a situation like, oh, it all made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why and how my mom did certain things and why she was intentional on doing certain things, why she was intentional when it came down to ensuring that my siblings and I were close, why she was intentional with um, displaying affection. Like my mom told me my grandma didn't like give hugs and kisses. Like it's just something she didn't do because my grandma didn't grow up my grandma was in her 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So during the time she grew up, it wasn't something that was done. Like it was affection wasn't a huge thing. So what I realized is a lot of stuff that my grandma may or may not have done. And again, my grandma did the best that she can do with 7 kids, single parent. You know what I'm saying? You working every day and then you trying to raise kids by yourself.
Right. Right.
So I realized that my grandma did the best she could do. So then my mom did the best she can do. And it kind of was like, oh, snap, like that's why my mom did all these things. That's why she spoke this. That's why she was intentional with all these things. And I think that was one of the greatest, probably one of the greatest days of my life because it kind of opened up a lot of and unpacked a lot of the issue, opened up a lot of doors, but also unpacked a lot of the things to where I can go back and say, oh, okay, I understand why she did that or why she did that. And I think, and I can say this too, you're close to your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So were there some things, and you talked to your grandma too.
I just
So
talked to Grandma Dilly today.
right. So, and I'm sure you've had conversations. Do you feel that there were certain things based off of her upbringing, her life, that she kind of passed on to your dad, and then you kind of see that throughout your life or when you were raised?
Yeah, so my grandmother's work ethic.
Okay.
She consistently says, if I could do it all over again, I would have had 10 children.
Okay.
Because for a woman born in the relatively early 20s, I guess you can call it that.
Mm-hmm.
1926. Yeah, she was she was born. She
Mm-hmm.
only had 2 kids. And
Wow.
back then they was
They was popping them things
5,
out.
6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13. Like her mother,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Celestine and Early Harris. ain't this some strong, sturdy black names? My great grandma was
Strong names.
Celestine, and her
Celestine.
husband was Early. That's it, Early Harris. But they had 14 children, and my grandmother was the
Mhm.
oldest daughter.
Mhm.
And she has consistently told me stories about how she was like, Mama taught all us how to cook. And I tell everybody, my grandmother's a phenomenal baker. She was like, Dilly, you gonna bake. And to this,
Mhm.
and just a sidebar, ain't it amazing how with no recipes, no formulas, they figured out how to make homemade cakes and pies and
Oh yeah.
just. And my grandma tell you now, you need to put 1/4 of a half a teaspoon. Grandma, what the heck does that mean? But
Right.
like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like that level of work ethic. But anyway, because she was the oldest daughter, she again had responsibility of almost being like a surrogate mother
Mhm.
to her siblings. And she dropped out of high school in 10th grade to kind of
Mhm.
continue to take on that. She also had her first child at 16.
Mhm.
And then, which was my uncle, and then my dad at 38.
Okay.
Right, that huge gap. And the
Huge
reason
gap.
why I brought that up about she saying I would do it again is because she spent those years making
Mhm.
sure that her, my, because back then you get pregnant, back then you get married. Her and my granddad got married, and they was
Oh yeah.
married up until the time he passed away. And but they made sure my granddad had a fifth grade education, but they made
Wow.
sure that the struggles that they had growing up in rural Arkansas,
Mm-hmm.
when they brought their kids to a city, West Memphis, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, West Memphis,
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas, that they would not live that life. So she
Right.
worked,
Right.
what I'm saying? She was not a housewife in the
Mm-hmm.
30s and 40s, bro. Like
Right.
she drove to Memphis and worked for Memphis Furniture Factory, hand reupholstering furniture by hand.
Wow.
And then
Mm-hmm.
from there worked at a dry cleaners up until she retired, but she was like 70 something. My
Mm-hmm.
grandfather owned a liquor store, worked at a bank with a fifth grade education, managed the
Wow.
dry cleaners. So they passed that on to my dad. And like at one point, that man has worked 3 jobs. Not
Wow.
because he necessarily had to, but that
Mm-hmm.
was just in his mind. There is something I want to accomplish for my family, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever it takes, this is what I need to do. I think the
Right.
downfall to that though was that there were moments he missed in terms of being at work or being
Mm-hmm.
tired. And like
Mm-hmm.
today, the man of God still works 2 jobs. He's like, there's some bills I want to pay for, you know what I'm saying? The money got to get made somehow, you know what I'm saying? And my parents do well. They're empty nesters. They do well for themselves. But again,
Right.
I think, like you said, it was that work ethic from my grandma and grandfather. Like even when my grandfather retired, my grandma kept working
Mm-hmm.
because she was just that independent type of woman.
Right.
She
Uh-huh.
definitely respected and honored my granddad, but she was also that very much so. I got my own dough. I need you, but I don't need you. And she never
Right.
said that, but her like the
Right.
way she moved and navigated gave
Mm-hmm.
that boss kind of aura. And I think my dad very much passed it down to me, which I mean to she passed it down to him, which is you know me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always doing 15,000 things. And I just
Right.
think it's that it is something in that Harris Rogers, that
Mm-hmm.
side of my family, that it's kind of like we got to grind to get it. And I think now that's why I'm so keen on self-care,
Mm-hmm.
because I see my dad, right, who
Right. Right.
when I go home he's tired. Because I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
tell him, dude,
Mm-hmm.
you up, his birthday's coming up, it's Saturday, so to speak, so y'all wish my dad a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
But I tell him all the time, you almost 60, man. You ain't no spring chicken. You can't be doing all this, this kind of stuff. But you know what's funny? It's the same stuff he tell my grandma, who still be trying to like maintain her own yard at almost 95. And
Right. Right.
thank God she's in her right mind. But it was that work ethic. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, and they loved hard, but they loved through work.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
their love language was really acts of service. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to do all these things. I'm going to make sure your life is as comfortable as it can be, even if
Mm-hmm.
that means it's for the sake of my personal discomfort.
Right.
And as a child, now watching that and being in
Mm-hmm.
therapy and being like all this kind of stuff, I'm like, but dad, you ain't gotta do all that.
Right.
Like
Right.
I like, you know what I'm saying? But one thing that I'm working through is that I show my love through work, right? I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I just did these
Mm-hmm.
great things. Love me, right? So it's something
Mm-hmm.
that I'm also like, and it's to what you said, it's just passed down. And I think that was something pervasive in our household. Like my mom, me and her was having a conversation, and she was literally almost for I don't know if she knows, for about 30 minutes just bragging. She's like, your dad take care of me, and blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And she was just going in, but I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that, right? And that was a model for me for love and relationships.
Right.
But again, I think I love the type of man that he is, and I honor, and I always say
Mm-hmm.
my dad is one of my superheroes.
Right.
But I also think, like you said, knowing my grandmother's story and understanding my grandfather's story too, like he was raised by a single mom, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of uncommon. I think his father
Right.
was
At that time.
his father was. I got a picture of Thaddeus Rogers. His father, like he was one of them. You remember the movie Life? Thaddeus is like he was about
Uh-huh.
that life. He was in that juke joint, running them streets, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and Willie Mae Bell. Shout out to my great grandmother. We got them names. Saying
Y'all got some strong names.
Right, raised Thaddeus and Willie Mae. Raised my grandfather. I think the best that she could. And from what I understand, she was his. He was her only child. Right. So I
Mm.
think their perspectives and just that the nuances of them kind of being these anomalies, so to speak, in the 20s
Mhm.
and 30s, and then them two only having two children and then only two
Mhm.
boys, and all that kind of stuff. I think really shaped how because my dad also grew up as an only child. Because
Mhm.
when my dad was born, my uncle moved off to New York. He was grown, right? So
Right.
it was, what I'm saying. So I think all of that kind of shaped how he raised us, and it really turned into this: we gonna work for it, we gonna
Mhm.
grind for it, but at the same time, I'm
Mhm.
also working. I think the line of it was they showed us great work ethic, but
Mhm.
I think that what they really wanted to show was that I'm gonna work hard so you don't have to work as hard, and I think that's
Right.
continued to be passed down. Like my grandma worked super hard
Mhm.
so that my daddy wouldn't have to work as hard. And now he's
Mhm.
working super hard so that we wouldn't have to work as hard. And I feel like now I'm grinding in a certain way to set up my children in a certain
Right.
way. So I think, while there are different levels, and I think the level of work has been reduced from generation
Mhm.
to generation, I can
Right.
see that consistent line throughout this whole Rogers dynamic. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but it is, it's just kind of what it is. I don't know if that
But
answered your
even with
question, but yeah.
no, it answered the question because there's I think sometimes we don't I think sometimes I don't think we really take inventory on why we do things because we don't in some cases we don't really know where we come from. Like
Hmm.
unfortunately I don't really know, like, I gotta at some point gotta have conversations with my dad, like, to I don't know too much about my paternal grandparents. So I
Mm.
know their names, I know where they're from, but I don't really know too much about their like personalities, their characteristics. So I can't even say like, oh, I'm like them, or you
Mhm,
know.
mhm,
So that kind of sucks. But yeah, and it's but even like as when it comes down to passing down like work ethic and work habits, and I can probably agree to that. My grandma worked a lot, and then my mom worked. My mom can't sit still. I'm probably not as bad when it comes to like not sitting still. I think the thing that kind of got passed down to me that was
mhm,
probably was toxic, and I don't think my mom was trying to. It wasn't. I don't think that she was passing it down intentionally. That's a toxic behavior. It was the fact of like perfection. Is like was like the like if it ain't perfect, then it ain't right. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like that was it was that was kind of like one of the mantras in the household. It was like it need to be right. If it ain't
yeah,
right, then don't do it at all.
mhm,
So I actually posted about it on Instagram this week or Facebook this week about the fact of like how, you know, every like I don't do a lot of things because I feel like it's not good enough. Or if I do it and then it doesn't come out the way I feel like it should have come down, then I'm like, oh, that was terrible. And then I'm like
yeah,
second guessing who I am because it's the fact of like you said, as far as the, wanting love or feeling like, you're adequate. And if the process in the house was perfection was the thing. Even and I'm not gonna say that that's what my mom like made us think that we had to be perfect, but like I saw that her whole thing was, or the mantra was, we're striving for perfection,
mhm.
and every day was we're striving for perfection, we're striving for perfection, we're striving
Woo!
for perfection,
Don't get me started on Robin. Go ahead.
and and the what happened is I think it ended up like it was a pressure.
Mhm,
So I'm every day. It's like I'm trying to be perfect, or I'm trying to do the right thing every day. Always make the right decisions. I'm always trying to, if in some case, try to take the high road because I don't want to be, you know what I'm saying. And I think it was a thing that was supposed to be positive, but I
yeah.
think it actually is the thing that kind of makes me want to go sit on the couch and talk to somebody about it because if anything, it's supposed to be positive,
Go
but
sit and talk about it.
it's actually it's a negative thing. So I kind of what's saying that you kind of already mentioned some things. What are some things that you're like, I know it's meant to be positive. Not even, I mean, say that. What are some things that you would say um that that probably went on in the house that you feel like you wish you probably wouldn't have gone down that path, or felt like maybe if you were raising yourself, you would have shifted some of the conversations a little bit.
I brought my first C home in the 8th grade. My mama told me, "You didn't do nothing. You could stay at home, made a C." And again, that's something her mother kind of
Mm-hmm.
instilled in them. Like, I see.
Yep, I
And
have the same experience.
and I don't know. if she knows this, but to this day that sticks with me. And in
Mm.
some ways it's funny. Like I laugh
Mhm.
about it, but in some ways it really guides how I'm like, because in a C, literally when you're looking at the grading scale, it says average, right? If you
Yeah.
look at the grades, like I remember, like A was excellent, B good,
Mhm.
C average, D below average, F fail. Um, so in my mind when she said that, what that equated to me was you can't be average.
Right. Right. Right.
And good, bad, or indifferent, that same level of pressure wasn't always applied to my sisters. And I
Mhm.
think
Yup.
I
Yup.
think part I think part of it was because I was always an A student. And my sisters are really
Right.
intelligent too. But I was
Mhm.
like that, that kind of that star student in school, so to speak. And when I brought home that C, it was also eighth grade. So I was like maturing and my balls was dropping, my voice was getting deeper. What I'm saying? Like this is eighth grade. I'm really like seriously, you had your little crushes, but at this point, I'm seriously looking at little girls and thinking
Mhm.
about dating and girlfriend and
Mhm.
all that. And then girls are really they looking at me because I was always a skinny, kind of nerdy kid, but now they looking at me because I had
And
started brushing my hair and I wear my wave caps. I had waves now. So I'm like, these things are working.
right. Was Slobbing My Knob out at the time?
Oh, yeah, that was like 95. I was 6 when that came out. But no, I had friends around me. Like my childhood best friend was in ninth grade. And I
Mhm.
won't put his business out there, but like he was, exploring, right? And I was aware of some of these things. So like my mind is changing and I'm in this really complicated. This is my first time in an extracurricular activity. I was in,
Mhm.
black marching band. So imagine drumline for 13-year-olds, right?
Mhm.
And that's actually when that came out because it was one of our homework assignments. He made us go watch it. But anyway, like so, my mind was there, and I don't think that for her, she didn't care about any of that. Your
Right.
job, and my parents consistently told me this: your job is to be a good student.
Yep.
And the fact that I pretty much failed at my job was something that put me back up because that next 6 weeks to get our report card every 6 weeks. That next 6 weeks, A's again. Like I had, and she was like, "See, that's how I know you weren't doing nothing because
Mhm.
it wasn't even like you got an A, congratulations. It was like that's how I know you weren't doing nothing because look how simple." And she knew it. Like I didn't go to tutoring, I didn't stay after
Mhm.
school. I just refocused, and that's
Right.
really all I needed. I just needed to refocus. And on top of that, the trauma of that was that one C in eighth grade because I was taking ninth grade credits, like ninth grade
Mhm.
classes, two of them anyway. Me and the valedictorian of my high school class, we were a percentage point apart, and it was because of
Mhm.
that C I made, and she got an A in the eighth grade
Oh
year,
wow. Wow.
and she got it over me. I think our weighted GPA, we had like 5. I was popular in school, but I was still a super nerd.
Mhm.
As far as like academics, we had like a 5.1 ish weighted GPA, which is crazy.
Mhm. That is
Unweighted,
crazy.
she had a 3.99. I had a 3.98, and it was because of that. It was because of that C. Why
Mhm.
is that relevant? Because even in 12th grade, that came back to me.
Right.
And today it rests with me in ways that make me think about how I navigate life. I think I even said it to my son before. It had to
Mhm.
stop and be like, wait a minute, I don't want to put that. I want Josh to have all A's and B's,
Right. Right.
but I don't want to put that pressure because sometimes you may not be the best math student or you
Right.
may not be the best because I'm not really good at math. I'm really good
Oh,
at
me
learning
neither.
concepts. So
Right.
in
Right. Right.
10th grade or next grade, if you teach me geometry and algebra 2, I'm gonna learn it and I'm gonna kill the test. But
Mhm.
next year, I ain't gonna none of that. Like, because
Right.
I'm good at mastering concepts in the moment,
Mhm.
and really learning what I need to learn. You know what I'm saying? I know how to learn. I need to learn to be successful,
Right.
and that was kind of the hustle that I think another thing my parents gave me too, which is not always a good thing. Picking up what you need to pick up to be successful, and going on with the rest, right? And so that's one thing I definitely would have navigated differently
Mhm.
in my household. I think another thing was that, and again, my mom got saved. My mom grew up Baptist. My daddy too.
Mhm.
We went
Oh
to
God.
the beautiful Zion Missionary Baptist Church.
Beautiful sign.
Yeah, they had a scandal. We left that church. But my mama grew up in Monumental Missionary Baptist Church. Shout
All
out to
right.
the late Reverend Dr. Samuel Cowles. He was
Ram doctor.
he was one of my Luther King homies. So really rich Baptist heritage, but my
Mhm.
mom's best friend was Kojic, which was the
Mhm.
founder of the church that I grew up in.
Right.
So when we left that church, we went to Kojic, and my mom got saved. And she made you first get saved.
Oh
You don't
yeah,
want to kill a roach, right? You're doing
bruh.
everything. You blah blah
I know
blah
it.
blah. So I think that shift in theology, I'll say like that.
Mhm.
I don't want
Mhm.
to say it was damaging, but I will
Right.
say I navigate that space and duality and relevance with my children a lot differently. My children know the fear of the Lord. They know about the Holy
Mhm.
Ghost, right? they
Mhm.
they know what we stand for. They know, what we're teaching them in terms of ethics and values. But
Right.
some of the dogmatic things that I was taught growing up that really ain't biblical.
Mhm.
And I don't blame my mom at all. It was what we were taught growing up in that
Right.
church, right? And it wasn't wrong. It just wasn't necessarily law. You know what I'm saying? And it took me
Oh yeah.
leaving and expanding and growing to understand that. So I definitely think as a child, having that level of, I don't want to say freedom, but kind of
Mhm.
not feeling condemned about everything, I think
Right.
would have changed my perspective and vantage point growing up in some areas as well, if I can be honest about that.
Yeah, and I can agree. I would agree with that. And the thing is, my mom was like more one of the liberal parents, and she
Okay.
was still like super strict. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like it wasn't. She was more of the. She was liberal in terms of like, um, in terms of like because she knew what it was like to be the outsider at church. Like she grew up in the broken home, to quote unquote. So she knew she understood that. But in terms of like just like she said, the dogmatic type stuff,
Hmm.
like yeah, and again, that goes back to the beginning. Like as far as that was the best that they had. That's all they
And
knew.
she knew, that's what she knew.
My mom got saved when I was 20. When I was 20. When she was 20, 19, 20, 18, 19, 20, around that time. So my mom been saved my whole life. So all I knew was church and sanctification and the Holy Ghost and all that kind of stuff. And I think s- it, seeing that or grow up in that lifestyle in that household kind
Hmm.
of makes me want to again be a little more balanced in my child rearing in terms of what I would allow Brooklyn to do and not to do.
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of the foundation type stuff, like we ain't watching no witchcraft movies in this house. You know what I'm saying? Like not in this black house.
We didn't watch the witchcraft movie. We watched a few scary movies, but it was like Scream and like
Oh,
that.
a Scream is not really a scary movie.
Yeah,
That's
but
like a
yeah,
funny movie.
yeah. But we weren't watching no Amityville horrors
Nah,
and
nah.
stuff.
So there's some stuff like I can growing up, but my mom wouldn't let us do. But now I understand as an adult, like nah, that ain't it, that ain't it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I pivoted in that. So um, I think that was something to where I feel like that is something in my lifetime that I feel like I'm going to shift for Brooklyn is going to be a little more leniency and one thing I did not like, and you may have grown up like this too, like the inability to really have conversations or the inability to what some people consider talking back. Like I really wanted to know the answer. I really wanted to know like why are you asking me to do this? Like what is the thought process behind this? And the answer would always be, I'm sure most black people understand,
Because I said so.
because I said so.
And if you keep
And-
asking me, it's gonna be some problems.
right? Did you have that same experience? I'm sure you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it was interesting because I feel like that was kind of the. I think that was kind of the unspoken rule. Like Mama said, we just doing it. But I
Hmm.
felt like the older we got into like teenage years, she actually opened up more and was like, I don't want to say more receptive to us asking why, but just
Hmm.
kind of like in her doing so, just explaining herself when she's asking. And my
Right.
dad has always been, I mean, you met my dad. He's real
Hmm.
chill, laid back
Hmm.
kind of guy. But he's
Right.
always been that kind of guy who would ask you to do something and he wouldn't give you like he didn't give you no parables,
Right.
but he'll do something like, Josh, take the trash out, but because there's food in there, go pour some bleach in it. in the big garbage can because we don't, you know what I'm saying? So it was like,
Right.
it was always like a, not a lesson, but he would attach something to it. Like, I'm not just gonna tell you to put no bleach in there and just do it because I say so. I'm telling you because, like, we didn't live in a wooded area. We live in an area with a lot of trees. And like a possum will come eat out your trash can. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like, it's
right,
just,
right.
so he was like, if you don't want that,
Right. You
put
gotta do
some
it.
in there. You know what I'm saying? So it was like those, like he was always that kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? Go
Right.
get me this because I need to do A, B, and C. So it's like, oh, okay. Bet. I still may not feel like doing it because I'm
Right.
15-year-old Josh, but it's just what it, you know what I'm saying, what it was. Like even in our household, we didn't grow up with closed doors at all.
Oh yeah,
Only when
no.
we were changing clothes.
Right, yeah, nah.
But nobody slept with their door closed. Nobody had their door closed, and it was just open door. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But my mom never, like, cause I always had my own room. So there was no like me sharing a room. Like wasn't no weird kind of like
Right, right, right.
precautions, or it was just what it was, but it was something in that house that she never explained, but I don't think she ever had to because it was just
Right,
the
right.
rule of the home. And even today, when I go to Memphis, sometimes I close my door now because I'm a family, but when I first go back, I ask me like, "You gonna close the door?" I be like, "For what?" And that's just, it was because it was just like,
Right.
it ain't what we did.
Right.
But yeah, I think we grew up understanding that when mama and daddy said that we just do it. But I will say I felt like as we got older, and this was before college, she kind of started navigating in a space where she would be more um I guess willing to talk through the things she wanted us to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about in terms of parenting, like, and I saw this actually on social media today. Somebody asked the question, like, do children? I don't think did they say deserve. I think somebody said they posted like, do children deserve um an explanation or apologies and explanations?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Um because I think as much as we are parents, we're still human.
Right.
And I think sometimes when our children frustrate us, we can operate in a level of frustration with them
Yep.
that in the moment, like, okay, perfect example. There have been times I've come home tired, and I can tell Ashley, baby, I'm tired, I don't feel like it. And she can respect that and be cool.
Right.
When Jaden want to get a hug, be like, Jaden, I've seen him walk away sad. And he was just like, and in his mind, I just want to hug my daddy. And that's not
Right.
fair to him because he's not able to conceptualize that. So the next conversation with him is not the typical parent, what you want to eat, to make it feel better because he don't
Right. Right. Right.
understand that.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is legit. I'm sorry, son. Come here. How was your day? And kind of starting it over.
Right.
So do they deserve apologies? Absolutely. Do they deserve like strict discipline and sometimes too?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do think there are times where there have been times where I've legit disciplined Josh, been super angry, and then when I've calmed down, I have apologized, but then explained to him. But that doesn't excuse your behavior. You were still
Right. Right.
wrong, and what I said, I really meant it. But the
Right.
ways
Right.
in which I said it, you know what I'm saying. So I think that that's helpful to him too, so he can understand like, all right, my dad ain't just yelling at me, my dad ain't just threatening me,
Right.
my dad ain't just whatever. Um, you know, I was in the wrong. And it gives him because one of the conversations we have with Josh now, like the insight, my son will be 10 in July.
Wow. You
He's
have a
gonna go into a
10-year-old.
double digits, right? I have a 10-year-old. And one of the conversations we consistently have is like, Josh, you're about to be 10, dude. So some of this behavior is just like just your last year of you're going to your last year of elementary school. Like
Wow.
this baby stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so I think how we deal with him is even changing, which is different than probably how I would have been dealt with at 10 had I, done some of the things, Josh. I probably just got a beating of my life. So yeah, I definitely think as far as like raising my children, there's definitely some things I'm doing differently for sure. If for no other reason, I'm not married. Like me and Asher aren't Robin and JB.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
on the converse, we're not Gary and Karen, which are her parents, right? So I think we're different. There are some things that we both experienced that we want to do different. So
Yep.
I think that creates a new dynamic in our household as well. And then just the way that I think the world has changed because even my parents' perspective on
Yep.
things are different today. I feel like if they were
Yep.
raising
Yep.
us in
Yep.
2021, it would be different than when they raised us in 1991 or 2001, right? When
Hmm.
2001, what was I was 12, so very close to Josh's age. So I
Right.
think in 2001, my mom raising me would have been very different than how I'm raising my son now in 2021. Um, and I just think based on culture of the time and the dynamics of
Hmm.
the time and things like that, perspectives were different. Things like
Yep.
because even like some of the dogmatic things that I grew up in church, my mom don't think the same way about a lot of this stuff today.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
so it's just kind of like and like to your point, and she was one of the more liberal Kojic evangelists, right? I was able to listen to R&B and rap. I was able to go
Hmm.
to the movies. I was able to be in band.
Right.
When I had a project, she didn't make me come to the church and sit on the back row and do homework. I stayed home and did my homework. Um,
Oh, lucky
yeah, I
you.
mean, now there were times where I was in the back, but it would have to be like a worksheet. But if I
Right.
told her I had like homework, I wasn't finna
Hmm.
be distracted with y'all tearing on there all the time. I got home. I got it. I'm not finna write da 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 and make a mistake and write that on my paper. Like, no. We didn't have laptops. So everything, you know what I'm saying? I had to
Right.
handwrite stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So like when we're raising our children, and I think I was talking to my mom and I was telling her about the decision that we made when we were at our former church. Asher made to stop going to Bible study because the boys' school scale. My mom was like, makes sense. And I'm like,
Hmm. Wow.
whoa, I mean, because Asher stopped going because where we went
Hmm.
to church. It was 30
I
minutes from our
know.
house. We didn't get out of
Yeah.
Bible study till 9, which means we want to get home to
Hmm.
9:30, which means we wanted to get settled to 10. That's a lot for a child to wake up at
Right.
6 o'clock. And you know what I'm
Right.
saying, to be doing all that. So anyway, I think those things I would have definitely some things I would have done differently. And very much so am doing differently.
Right.
And again, I don't know that I blame them
Hmm.
um for anything wrong, but it does. Here's the thing though. Just
Hmm.
because I don't blame them for whatever they did or said and how it affected me, it doesn't take away that it probably had some type of effect, and it
Hmm.
doesn't absolve them from whatever they said or did and how that made me feel and how that affected me
Right.
in the future. Right. And I think
Right.
that's the balance we have to have with our parents. Like, I don't hate my mom. There is nothing.
Hmm.
I don't hate my father. I love them. Like, you know, I say that my dad's one of my best friends, and my mom, we talk on a we ain't friends, like as
Right.
like she my kiki buddy, but we talk on a friendship esque level.
Hmm.
But even still, that don't mean like the whole C situation. There's not things that I'm still like processing as an adult, right?
Right.
That came from my parents, and I think that is fair to understand the duality in that loving and understanding, but also being like, this affected me in this way.
Yeah. And I think it's being honest, and I think it's cool. You can actually have the conversation with your parents and being like I don't dislike you. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm extending the grace to you because I knew this is the best that you had.
Yeah.
You know, and even think about this now, like you don't know how to. You can read as many. I think, and this is what I believe. You can read as many books as you want before you have kids, and you're still not gonna be prepared.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Them books are trash
right,
anyway.
right. And I think every single day we're still trying to figure it out. And mind you, excuse me, and mind you, Lauren and I, we had kids year 9. We had our child year 9, so we
Mhm.
had 9 years to kind of think about and talk about our parenting styles, what we plan on
And here
doing,
we
and
are going into year 9 with a 10-year-old.
right. But even within the conversations that we had, it still is kind of like, ooh, once you get into thing, it's a
It's
whole
different.
nother ball
It's
game. It's
different.
a whole nother ball game. And then I'm thinking like, again, your parents had 3 kids. My
Mhm.
mom had 4. So I think there's a certain level of grace I extend to my parents, and even though my dad didn't necessarily like raise me, I still extend a certain level of grace because I'm like, I know what it's like to be a parent now. So
Mhm.
even though, like you said, I can still hold you accountable and be like, y'all didn't do that right. That wasn't cool. But still, it's a certain level of grace. Like, you're doing the best that you could. And I'm going to, in my life, try to do better than that. But then also, not even, I think we try to be like, I'm going to be better than my parents, blah, blah, blah. But even even the negative things that they may have done, may have benefited you in the end. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and I think and I struggle with that word. I'm gonna be better than them.
right? Yeah, I don't like that. It's
I struggle
different.
with that because I think different. Because I think
Yeah.
also what's necessary to raise Josh was very different. Josh second is very different.
Mhm.
What's necessary to raise me, right?
Right.
I don't know, and my wife is a phenomenal mother, but I don't know that
Mhm.
Asha's parenting, and I would just be very honest. I don't know that Asha would have been the best mother for me, like how she's
Mhm.
raising our boys. Not to say it's not a good mother; she's a great mother,
Right.
right? But I think I need like part of me needed Robin and JB, right? And I
Right.
think that Josh and Jaden need Asha and Joshua. And I think that's the difference that we
Mhm.
kind of have to look at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? While you had your mom, like, but Brooklyn needs you and Lauren. I think there's something
Right.
different that you two bring
Right.
to the table that their parents, like
Mhm.
y'all parents, may bring some solid stuff because they raise great kids, but it's very
Right.
different than what Brooklyn probably needs and how to respond. I was just watching This Is Us,
Mhm.
and one of their daughters came out as a lesbian, and she's
Yep.
dating a gender binary person that's they, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
How would our parents even know what to do with that? Would our parents even know how to deal with anything like on that level, considering how the LGBTQ community in many ways are still oppressed and overlooked, but how they were really looked down upon um when we were growing up as teenagers and things like that. So I think the better word for it all is really different, and that's not necessarily a scapegoat or a excuse for for any, like you said, for any of their behavior. It's not that like we can't hold them accountable, but I definitely think um it's an opportunity for us to understand the differences that our children need and the ways in which we can meet those differences and the ways in which we can be the types of parents that they need, considering
Right.
our current perspectives and the current times that we're in.
Right. Right. And I think that's the thing that I've kind of realized. And I know sometimes it talks about as far as the generation get a little bit wiser. I don't think we got wiser in any stretch of the imagination. I just think things have changed. Culture has changed, and we look at things much differently. Like for one example, would be emotional intelligence.
Now, I,
The
I will pause you and say I think there is a different level of wisdom and emotional intelligence, though. I will say
okay.
that in some
Hmm.
areas, I think I have to
Right.
push back a little bit on that
Okay.
note. Um, yeah, because like just think about how sometimes when women, especially with their daughters, women who are a little more voluptuous would be like, "Girl, you need to put some on you fast."
Hmm.
Just because she wore something tight, but she got all that booty because everybody in their family got booties. Like
Right.
she can't control that, you know what I'm saying? And why does
Right.
she have to now be responsible for some other man? Why is she now fast
Right.
because somebody's looking at her? You know what I'm saying? I think
Right.
today, right? I think we are wiser in that sense of empowering women to understand that your body is your body, your curves are your curves. And
Right.
what we want to do is teach you self-respect,
Right.
right?
Right.
And allow you to recognize the ways in which you could be disrespected and what maybe some consequences of wearing that stuff is, but if you're gonna wear it, own it, right?
Right.
I
Right.
think that's the difference. And versus you fast, you look like a little hoe, you know what I'm saying? Because that's
Hmm.
very real language that
Oh.
mothers would
Oh.
use with
Yes.
with their daughters, right? So I think in some respects we are a little
Hmm.
wiser, and that comes with us acknowledging stuff that they wouldn't acknowledge as parents.
Oh yeah, and that kind of is a good point to the fact of I think the being honest and really acknowledging faults and flaws and stuff like that within the
Mm-hmm.
previous generation. Some things went unsaid. I think now go. I think things are actually said now, but I also think we have language to address certain things that went unsaid. Like, for instance, like one statement, and we could talk about this and we'll probably wrap it up. One statement that I in hindsight, I hated that I heard was what goes in this house stays in this house. Like in
Mm.
theory, I kind of understand it, but a part of me is kind of like I can see how that can have some negative um And it could be dangerous too.
No,
Like,
absolutely, yeah.
what if there are some instances when there is like abuse or, and then you're told like, oh, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. Like, but if something's happening in this house that I need to tell somebody, I can see how I could potentially be dangerous. What do you think?
No, I absolutely agree. I think to a certain extent, true, because I live by the mantra that my house is my house, and that,
Right.
but what that means is that the intricate details of my home is not for the public. But
Right.
what that also means that if there is some type of level of abuse or inappropriate activity, then I think in the general, yes, it stays in the house in the context
Right.
of this is a family issue. But what
Right.
that does not mean is that I won't go to a certain level of authority. What that does
Right.
not mean that we won't go to therapy. What that does not mean I ain't calling police. What that does not
Mhm.
mean that I'm not going to the local gun shop and put somebody in the face if I need to. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not, what it
Right.
means is that it is still a family. I think that's the difference for us, right? For them, it was
Right.
like, shh, we ain't gonna ever talk about it. But I think for
Right.
our generation, it's more like, no, it's a family issue, but
Right.
we ain't gonna sit on it. Like we gonna address it.
Uh-huh.
We gonna
Right.
what I'm saying? We gonna call it for what it is, and then we can move forward.
Right.
Because what
Right.
I don't want is the trauma of, what I'm saying, 20 years later, you talking about, cousin such and such did this, or somebody said that, like,
You're like, why didn't you
nah,
tell me?
why didn't you tell me? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
and we, like, even with our children, we
Mhm.
have been building, like, even when they go outside and play, they,
Mhm.
they talk to kids and they're learning stuff, like, something as simple as Santa Claus. Gigi
Right.
said there was no Santa Claus, blah, 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 blah. And I one time I told Jay, I said, that's a godless child. I said, you don't listen, you don't listen. But no, but I say that to say that they're like, they're being influenced in so many ways. But what Ash
Mhm.
and I try to do is really talk through what that means, and to have very vivid conversations about, what I'm saying. I know y'all are kids and y'all are brothers, so y'all tell each other stuff. But at the same time, you should be wanting to talk to me. Like Jaden is 6, but the man, when I tell you the man of God is a noob all through and through, he now, he be when he get his haircut, he be talking about his little curls, how he want him to pop, and he get last week he got his haircut, woke up the next morning, it was like, my curls are kind of flat. They're not curly like they was when I first got my haircut. And I said, why you want? And I found out it's this little girl at school that he got his little eye on, right? And I make that point to say that, what I'm saying, well, let's talk about what that means to
Mhm.
like a little girl, and let's talk about some of the ways in which we can have our little 6-year-old crush and be appropriate.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
So if we see her, we ain't gotta, say crazy stuff or ask crazy questions. We can just kind of, flirt like a 6-year-old. And that means
Right.
smiling. That means sharing your fruit snacks. That means, what I'm saying, those type of things, keeping it appropriate, but making it normalizing affection,
Right.
normalizing things that they're like, you know, they're 6, but they know what's because Jaden's my wild child. Jaden said, "Daddy, I
Mhm.
saw this girl looking at me, but she's she's UGLY." And I don't wanna, and so I mean, so even at his young age, he's able to, look at what in his mind is attractive and pretty and whatever. And I think the thing for us is normalizing that. And I say all of that to say we have to normalize communication. And
Yep.
that's the way we break that mantra. If we can start
Mhm.
having open communication when things happen, good or bad, right?
Mhm.
We can have those conversations and navigate these different situations in ways that lead us to, amicable solutions or just solutions in general. Not to say that you won't still be in therapy later,
Mhm. Oh
but it
yeah.
is to say that we can kind of ward off some of that trauma um, that happened in childhood.
Yeah. And I think me and Lauren kind of have said the same thing. Like, our goal is to really try to make sure we want to limit or minimize the things that Brooklyn's gonna have to be on the couch for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's going to be on the like everyone needs to be on the couch
Everybody
at
need a
some point.
therapist. So
Everybody needs to be on the couch at
yeah.
some point. But we want it to be a minimal amount of things, and we don't want us to be the top of the list, like of the things like that my parents did that had me here. You know what I'm saying? And we want to have the ability to feel like if open lines of communication, like if we're doing something, we're going to, acknowledge our faults and at least give the ability to be like, hey, mom, dad, I ain't like this. And ask the questions. And in regards to something that we're doing or we've done, like I want you to be able to be like, dad, mom, I don't like this. This is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
This hurt my feelings. And hear us, say, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry that, that we did this. I'm sorry that we did it. And of course, like you said earlier, like if we meant to do it, we meant to do it. It was intentional. Like you need to go to bed because you can't sleep at night. You wake, we're sad when we're sorry that you feel that way. But you need to go to bed.
And there are some times when I'm not sorry. And I've explained that too. Josh be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, and when you get done with all that, you still going to sleep because it's a school night. So no, I'm not apologizing for turning your game off. No, I'm not giving you anything. I don't care how mad you are. Go to bed. And I think, again, that's the conversation, right? Like, so while in generations past, that may have been, I'm explaining myself, but it's really not. You know what I'm saying? Like, for them, they could be thinking, oh, I had to do all this homework and now it's bedtime. And I have to tell them, but that's your fault. Because if you'd have done your homework as soon as you got home, you wouldn't have been doing homework up until 7 o'clock. That now ran into dinner time. That now ran into shower time. And now it's time to go to bed. That's your business. They ain't got nothing to do with me. And I consistently tell Josh, when I was a kid, bro, I used to come home and do my home. I used to eat my snack, do my homework immediately. What I was not about to do, my bedtime was like 9:30. I wasn't finna let 9:30 roll up. And I ain't done nothing. And I'm just finishing home. Unless it was a big project. I wasn't doing that, fam. I want to play my PlayStation. I want to watch, Soul Food series. I want to do the things, right? Stuff I shouldn't have been watching. But I want to do the things. So yeah, I think, opening that space for them to communicate and opening that space for them to be their most authentic selves and leaving room as parents to be wrong. I think that's the most important part. I think that's one of the most important parts too.
I agree. And I of course, we're not going to be perfect. Parents aren't going to be perfect because we're just figuring this thing out and we're just trying our best. We're really trying to do our best. I believe most parents are trying to do their best to do better than the previous generation. So that's pretty much it. Do you want to add anything else before we move on?
No. What I would like to say, since we kind of started off talking about Kirk Franklin and the carry-on situation as a framework, what I would want to say, just to all the people, before you decide to pass judgment, just understand that, there's clearly some family trauma within the Franklin household, right? And this is not because I'm a fan. But I think we have to understand that was wrong on both sides at some point in some way. I think Kirk used some really harsh language toward his son, if I'm be honest, if we're going to, address the elephant that's in the room. But I also think Carry On probably very much said and did some things that could have been really disrespectful. And not just in this 1 30-second clip that we got to hear. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is probably years of discord between the two. And it's not meant for us to figure out. But what I will say, what we heard was not uncommon in Black families and in Black. I think maybe the level of harshness, maybe, because I have never been talked like that by my parents.
Never.
Not even as an adult. But at the same time, I've never given my parents a reason to talk to me like that. I don't think anyway. But at the same time, I think we can pass all of our level of judgment and stuff. But I think it just comes to a point to where we have to, I think, in terms of us, or we're having all these think pieces about, well, I just heard this, or I just heard that, or he was just being a Black father. I think we have to step back and really think through some of the perceived dynamics and understand that all we can do is take accountability for what we do in our household and try to figure out the ways in which we can be the best parents with the least amount of traumatic effect. Best parents and best children. Even as adult children, I think that cycle has to continue of not prolonging trauma, even as adult children. So I just wanted to throw that out there at the end.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the same thing. Like in considering family toxic behaviors and traumas, like people can be wrong. Both people can be wrong.
Yeah,
and the thing is to make sure that we find the way to just move forward and get better. That's all we try to do as far as black folks. Want to end with a game? Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to ask you a few things to
Just
see if
lighten
you
it up.
either
But
have
this
them.
has been a heavy one.
It's a heavy one. So I'm going to ask you if you have a few things either in your house now or you grew up with it. All right.
Okay.
So, do you now or did you ever have a bag full of trash bags or a bag full of grocery bags?
It's a
in your
Trader
house?
Joe bag full of Kroger bags in it right now.
Yeah. Okay. Do you now or did you have growing up a can of grease on the stove?
Growing up, not now. But it was mostly bacon grease. And it was in a canister that was labeled grease. And it was a real canister. It had grease on it. And my grandma had one in a she kept hers in the refrigerator. And it used to mold up. And one time, funny story, I thought it was applesauce. And I got a big thing and I put my worst experience ever, bro. Disgusting. Next question.
Did you now or you're growing up have a Danish cookie dish that didn't have
no cookies in it? It was the Christmas candy dish. Or it was like the junk thing. It had stuff in it. My mama sewing kit, all that kind of stuff was in it.
All that kind of stuff. All right. Did y'all have batteries in the refrigerator?
No, that was the thing we didn't do. We didn't put batteries. When the batteries was gone, they was gone. That was mainly because of my dad, though. We didn't do that.
All right. Got a couple more. Did y'all reuse butter containers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They was Tupperware. Yeah, you took them things to lunch. With no shame. Betty Crocker, you had to open, you didn't know if that was still the spreadable butter or you didn't know if that was a leftover spaghetti. You don't know what it was, just open it. Even the cottage cheese bowls was full of other stuff. It's just stuff.
Just stuff in there. You got to open it up to see what's actually in
We
there.
had no matching Tupperware sets as children. Just all recycled bowls from butter and cheese.
And jars and everything.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. More than 5 Bibles.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. One in the car, a couple in the house. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, all right. A jar of an assorted type of candies. Butterscotch and cinnamon and peppermints.
At grandma's house for sure. She kept funny story, I told you my dad was a hustler. He worked at Hershey, which made Jolly Rancher and Double. So we always had gum. My grandma she kept a bowl full of Jolly Ranchers mixed with peppermints, mixed with gum. And then my mom would bring the candy dish out for the holidays. But grandma, to this day, she got a candy dish right now. One in her living room, that's a pretty one. And one in the kitchen, that's the hood candy dish. It's like plastic one that's just full of stuff.
Okay. 3 more.
Okay.
We're going to be out of here. Cocoa butter. Do you have it now or back in the day?
Oh yeah, I got the cocoa, but I got the Palmers in the jar, and I got the oil upstairs. And we used to use it was called Nanda Nolan or Nanda Nola or something. Cocoa butter, 98 cents at the Walmart when I was growing up. That's what we had. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we already know you use Fabuloso, so I'm not gonna use that one. Did y'all use the Ajax or the Comet and just sprinkle it in the tub and let it sit there for a little bit?
And the kitchen sink. Yeah. And the kitchen sink. Yes. Especially with my mom, especially the holiday Thanksgiving. Like she would always clean out the sink when she was done cooking or watching. You know, we wash our meat in black houses, so you gotta clean that sink. But like holidays, it's gonna sit.
We got a scouring powder.
It's gonna sit and soak. Mm-hmm. We definitely put it in that, and we put it in the tub and the toilet. We put it everywhere where it can sit.
Oh, everywhere,
everywhere where it can sit.
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That blue powder everywhere.
Ajax or Comet, either one.
Mm-hmm. It was the
same kind of poison.
Why don't people use that no more?
It's the same. I haven't used it in a while, but I have.
I use like the 409. I got bougie. I use the 409 or the scrubbing bubbles, but I don't think it has the same effect.
So when I first moved off campus and we cleaned up our apartments, I let that Comet sit in that tub for about an hour before I cleaned that stuff out.
And last but not least, this is a yes.
Okay.
A glass bottle of Pompane oil.
Now you know we had oil all up in the house.
We don't have it these days though. Like they stopped making the glass bottles.
They stopped making them. They in the plastic bottles now.
And the world went to hell.
Woof. Woof.
When they changed the bottle, the world went to
They
hell.
changed that bottle. The world went to hell. But yeah, black houses, man.
I love
Black
it.
houses.
I love it here.
Yeah, I love it. I wouldn't want to be anything else.
Oh, not
We
at all.
black people, we go through our things. We have our issues. But I'm gonna say this. Now I don't care who lives. If I woke up white, I would cry.
I agree. I agree.
I would be like, God, what did I do to deserve this?
Right. Like, Lord, what did I do wrong?
What did I do? What did I tell me? Tell me, what can I do? All right.
All right. Well, that's been a great
It
conversation.
has.
It has been
I'm
a great
glad we got
conversation.
that out. This was like therapy.
It was like that, but I need to get on somebody's couch. Let's go.
I'm
You can set me up.
gonna hold you accountable in 2021.
Let me give me an appointment.
Yeah, I mean, you might ignore my text message again, but you know,
Don't do that.
here we
Don't
go.
do
You
that.
ready? You ready?
Let's go over the Black Men Stuff
Let's
before
do
we
it. I am my
before we
brother's
go
keeper.
back to that. I'm a brother's keeper.
All right, we are here. I am my brother's keeper, where we talk about some self-care and all of the things. And after a conversation like we just had, we need some self-care. So,
We do.
Bryan, what are you doing post first dose vaccination?
Well, I'm actually going to start the morning off doing yard work because
Look at
it needs to be done. And then I want to cook out this weekend. I really want to. So that's if the weather's good, if the weather permits.
Question.
What?
Now you done outsourced your home chores, and you ain't finna put nobody do this yard.
Okay, so what I have people that go do the yard.
Okay,
so
I'm
but the thing is,
listening.
my okay, so we have like some moss I want to get up in the front yard.
Mhm.
And the first weekend in April, we're having somebody come in and do like the whole yard. But there's some things out there that are just getting on my nerves, and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't want that in my yard no more. And then the back deck, you've been in my house. So the back deck has a whole bunch of leaves and stuff like that on it. So I want to get rid of it so it looks presentable out there. I don't be outside just with leaves and stuff all over my deck. So
Well, that's fair.
it's not whole yard work. It's definitely just enough to where stuff that's happening right now is getting on my nerves before I pay somebody to actually do all the real work.
That's fair. I rock with that.
And then I'm dropping my daughter. My mom is coming to get my daughter.
Yeah.
So by like 12 o'clock, it's gonna be just me and the wife just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my self care.
Got it. This weekend, man, I don't know. I don't have anything to do. Probably get the cars washed. If it's not supposed to rain crazy this weekend. So that'll be a thing. You just feel different when you got a nice clean car. And so do that. And so we signed up for this meal prep service. So I'm picking up those meals on Sunday. So that's going to be something relaxing. Got meals for lunch the next weekend. Especially now that I'm vaccinated and the summer's coming, I got to make sure this body is right and tight. So doing all the things to make sure that is in place, but really just a lot of adulting this weekend. Errands and stuff like this. Oh, I've been going to the Big Boy Farmers Market once a month, and this is my weekend to go. So I'm going to go out there and rack up on some spices and nuts and fruit and fresh meats and all that different kind of stuff that they have. And that is it, my man. That is it for me. Are we going to P.O. Box this week?
Let me check. We don't have anything in there.
All right.
Okay. So that means y'all need to send something so we can have something to talk about.
Send the things.
So we'll skip on it. We'll save that for next week.
We'll save it for next week.
Because I think we have some things we got to get off our chest.
Yes, we do. So let's go on over to a greater conversation.
Let me talk. Let me talk.
All right, good people. We are here at a greater conversation where we talk and discuss all the things that are on our mind, that are bothering us, that are, getting on our nerves and all that kind of stuff. Bryan, just let me do this. It's going to be quick.
Okay.
It's going to be to the point. Sharon Osbourne,
Oh, that's a good one.
girl. I've been contemplating how I wanted to say this all day because I knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know what I want to say to you other than to say that you are way out of pocket and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to say you don't have to use the word nigger to be racist. It is your complicit
Right.
behavior. It is your ability to defend Piers Morgan, your friendship to him over holding him accountable to like all of his remarks. It is your
Mm-hmm.
ability to tell what's my girl name? Cheryl Underwood, like don't cry, because I should be the one crying, like all like victim,
Girl.
like you know what I'm saying, like basically minimizing her feelings around race and race relations, and just kind of snapping off and being the angry white woman and being able to get away
Mm-hmm.
with that. And then
Mm-hmm.
even in Cheryl Underwood having to sit there and while you're going off and being crazy, having to remain
Mm-hmm.
calm and do what we always do and calm your butt down while you having a
Mm-hmm.
tantrum on national television.
Yep.
And I think the greater conversation of it all is that, you know what I'm saying, this is the kind of stuff we deal with on a regular basis. This is what we say
Mm-hmm.
microaggressions. This is when you feel like you can't understand what you've done as racist, or I can't clearly be racist because I'm Jewish. That's what she had the nerve to say, that I can't be
Whew.
racist because I'm this and I'm that. Like all of those things are racial undertones.
Whew, child.
And so now what's the show called, the view, no, to
The
the
view.
talk. The
The
talk
talk.
is one of them, so
Yeah.
many of them shows. The talk, now they're shut down and under investigation, and I heard they're under investigation because Elaine Welterworth, the other black
Mm-hmm.
woman,
Mm-hmm.
had some things to say, and and both of them were trying to talk to Sharon and be reasonable with her, and she was just being crazy, and she sent this like half butt apology and all those different types of things. So
Right.
I'm just over it, and
Mm-hmm.
and I know that we probably won't ever be exempt from this some level of white stupidity from people who think
Mm-hmm.
that way. And here's the thing: I don't want anyone listening to this podcast to think that I don't like white people, because I do. What I don't like is whiteness. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a very big difference between the two. And whiteness is that privileged structure, that
Mm-hmm.
systematic structure that
Right.
says we're better than, we can do, we're exempt from. For example, a white terrorist murderer
Mm-hmm.
kill 8 Asian Americans in America, and a high-ranking police official in Atlanta said, "Oh, it's
Yep.
because he had a bad day."
Yep.
That is whiteness. Because
Mm-hmm.
if there was a black man, you would have shot that fool as soon as you found him.
Yep.
So it's those kind of things. It's that level of privilege that you live in and operate in that is so ingrained in your culture. So much so that the Europeans don't think that they come from a racist society. Y'all are the
Right.
granddaddies of racism.
Right.
Like, don't y'all know the ones who came to America, stole land, killed people, claimed it for yourself, then snatched other people from from their homeland to build a country that you stole from indigenous people and now calling it your own. You
Right.
all are the grandfathers of
Mm-hmm.
racism. So
Yep.
to kind of say that you're exempt from, well, we're not as bad as America, that don't say much, because America
No.
ain't a standard to be looking toward. And
Right.
Sharon Osbourne embodied all of that whiteness
Yep.
this week, or last week, whenever it happened, when they had the altercation with Cheryl Underwood and Elaine. So I'm sorry that those black women had to deal with that.
Yep.
I don't know what the future of the talk looks like. I'm at work when the show is on, so I don't watch it. And if I was at home, I
I've
probably still
never seen
wouldn't
an
have watched
episode.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen clips because I really appreciate Cheryl Underwood's comedy,
Mm-hmm.
but not enough to watch the show. So that is all. So whiteness be canceled.
And you kind of already went to my greater conversation. Jay Baker
With the terrorist.
Cherokee.
Call him what
Cherokee
he is. He's
County.
a white racist terrorist. He didn't have
Well,
a
the white
bad day.
racist. His name is Robert Long. Robert Long. He's the white racist terrorist. That's the thing. Like, that's just completely deplorable. That's stupid. That's just idiotic. You're a terrorist. You intentionally went and murdered some people. But Jay Baker, Captain Jay Baker, Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, and that whole police force, um, you literally said the dude had a bad day, and this is what happened. Come to find out, this same police captain posted some anti-Asian type stuff on Facebook before. He has a history of doing this stuff. But then on top of that, they're trying to say, oh, you guys are jumping to conclusions. It's not a race thing. He has a sex addict and it's their fault. This is what they said. They said it's the different massage parlors' fault because they've allowed him to indulge in sexual behavior at these places, which is the reason why he snapped. And now he went to those places and chose those places to kill these people. Again, like basically what you said, Joshua, is the privilege to where one, when you do something, there's this double standard. One, you are arrested without issue, heavily armed, arrested without issue. Two, they found an excuse of why you did it. The answer was he had a bad day. And folks have bad days all the time, and we don't murder nobody. Then on that, it's you're trying to find a reason why he did this. There has to be a reason why he did this. He couldn't have just done it because that's just what it is. But when black folks do it, when brown folks do it, it's in our nature. We're from the ghetto, we're from the hood, and we just murder people, and it's just what we do. Anytime white dudes, we have throughout history, we see in the United States when somebody does something, it's mental illness. We got to find a reason why they snapped or why they did that, because there's no way a normal, white American would have just murdered somebody for no reason or went on a murder spree for no reason. Like it's foolish, it's annoying, it's frustrating. There's so many adjectives that I can use to say how infuriating it is. And then folks act like they just don't see it or they don't hear it or there's no bias or there's no like that's even the way they're going about this is racist.
Yeah.
No, the way they're doing about it is racist. And they act like they don't know. Oh, it's not. You're using your space to try to say it wasn't, motivated, and you're blaming the folks that he murdered, right? So it's like all of it needs to go. I think the captain needs to go.
Get his butt out of here.
He needs to go because clearly he's incompetent and he has bias toward people that aren't white. So that's the greater conversation. I just dislike it, and I don't think it's ever going to change because this is the United States of America. It is who they are.
It is who they are. And this has been another. This
bamboo. The spirit of Little Richard's all over.
That's the Holy Ghost. I was caught up. Is it almost midnight? Yeah, I was listening. I'm about to be locked out of this jail. I got an announcement to make.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna make it tonight, but
okay.
I got some special news. I'm prophetically declaring that I'll be sharing with you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, and I think I know what it is.
I think you know what it is. So,
and we're celebrating God.
Yeah,
he did it again.
I felt a whale. Bullshit. Yeah,
I feel a screaming spirit.
Yeah. I wish I could. Them folks sleep. But I would pull one up down from the belly. That bullshit.
He's a wonder in my soul.
Ain't it? Sweet wonder. Woo. All right. But no, this has been another episode of the G. I am out of it tonight, y'all. Thank y'all.
Let me finish up. Y'all, thank y'all
thank you, Bryan.
Listeners. Follow us on all the places. Go to our website, thejigsawpodcast.com. I am Josh Rogers. I am Bryan here. The Jigsaw Podcast. Email us. Ask the Jigsaw.
Yep.
Tell people about us. Rate us 5 stars.
All
nothing
the
less.
things, nothing less.
And don't leave your works undone.
Now you wait a minute. You go sign off on this. You got to sign off the right way. Now listen. It don't matter if your co-host has heard the sign off 90 million times and still don't know it. don't let this life stress you out like he stresses me out. Okay? All you can do is what you can, the best ways you can, while you can, or whatever like the order I say that in. But in the midst of all of that, don't get caught with your works undone. Good night. Y'all pray for me.
Good night. Love y'all.